all day in touch with cybersecurity topics.
Tech is always there for humans. Not everything what you are seeing, what you are hearing, what you are reading is true.
And now, your podcast hosts, Andre and Christian.
Hello and welcome to Connecting for Future, the podcast where we explore the latest trends and innovations in the world of technology. I'm your host, Christian Kösting, and joining me is my co-host, Andre Brusiak. Together, we will dive deep into the fascinating world of IT with two incredible guests, Uli Irnich, the CIO of Vodafone Germany, and Markus Kuckertz, the head of IT strategy. Both are also hosts of their own podcast, Digital Pacemaker. Welcome, Uli and Markus.
Hello, good morning.
Hi.
Warm welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
We're thrilled to have you both here. Let's start with IT transformation. Uli, could you share your insights on how Vodafone is embracing IT transformation in this fast-changing digital landscape?
Yes, of course. If you look to the dimension of transformation, you see a lot, right? Number one is technology innovations and transformation. So that means going faster with new technologies like metaverse, where you can see the different perspectives, right, in an emerging and immersed technology. Secondly, you can see, I think we shift a lot, right? Because if you look to the front ends and everything where we have customer connections, everything which runs to the app is a very fast development path, right? And, as every IT, right, you have some legacy stuff, which is good, right? Because you've grown up with some stuff. And this one you need constantly to modernize. That's just the technology side. Now, looking at the human side, right? We have a lot of people working. They need also to transform, right? So that means tasks are changing, roles are changing, and also profiles are changing. We're starting developing on legacy stuff, right? And now everything moves to the cloud. And the development in cloud and managing the cloud is a different behavior and development than when you're working on your legacy stuff.
Yeah, that's a great perspective, Uli. One of my hypotheses would be that technology is always faster than the human being. Is that also?
Of course. If you look, I would say we are now 53 years in the first internet message, right? So, and if you see the development and innovation path, right, and the velocity of innovation, we will see in the next 5 years more innovation than in the last 50, right? So that means the speed of technology and the innovations which are coming, and you see that around us, right? When everybody on the supermarket talks about ChatGPT, that's a hype at the moment, right? And everybody knows that artificial intelligence is not a new thing, right? We are already since 60 years in research and development, and now there is a perfect storm because you have enough data, you have enough compute power, and the algorithm can work really fast and also adopt with machine learning and other things. And that shapes the speed of innovation. And now you need to step back. Because if you look to the trend radar, right, you see so many innovations that you also need to embrace which hype you should invest to and which one you should pause. You cannot do everything.
I mean, that's not easy to do, right? I mean,
that's the hardest point.
You were talking about the metaverse. My view would be that 2 years ago, it was very high ranked in the hype cycle. Now we are in the phase of more neutral view on it. I mean, Siemens just announced to invest massively in the industrial metaverse, for example, but other companies, I think, step back a little. And with ChatGPT, AI, and all these tools, I think it's 2 years behind the metaverse development, but still, I think this will be the same case.
Yeah, I would say it a bit different because especially if you look to AI, the first research here in Germany started in the 60s, right? So 65 something there, right? And there were already a lot of hypes in the meantime. And now we are more in the breakthrough area because now what I said before, technology is there, data are there, compute power is there, right? You can do now all the things we dreamed 30 years ago, right? You can do. And you see in the fast adoption, You see the hyperscalers like Google and also Amazon, right? They were already, let's say, announcing their big AI powers, and then they're doing, and you have it at home, right? Alexa, Siri, Google, and everything is at home already, right? But this breakthrough of OpenAI, where they have now all this, let's say, ChatGPT, large language models, which are coming there, which looks incredible, fascinating. But this is just one angle of AI. So that means that's not the full story. And large language models cannot do everything, right? They cannot play chess. They cannot tell the truth because that's not what they are programmed for, right?
Markus, as head of IT strategy, how do you ensure that your IT initiatives align with the overall business goals and keep up with the ever-changing technology landscape?
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting question. Thank you, Christian. The thing about aligning the inner operations or the inner value creation process of a company with your overall strategy is to be empathic about your customer. So you really have to step into the footsteps of your customer and have to see, okay, how do people actually consume our products? And if you take it from there, actually, it's quite easy. It's easy said, actually, but what you have to see is companies, for example, like us, are not starting from a white paper or green field. So when I had one of a bigger situation in my career, and when I was struggling, people said to me, Markus, it's very easy. Don't let the past define your future. And that's quite easy. I said, yeah, sure, okay, understood. Let's forget about everything that was in the past. Let's restart. But if you look at companies like our company, for example, they have a massive history, and you won't be able to close your eyes or to say, hey, we just do something new. So you really have to see, okay, what is the thing the customer wants? So how is he actually consuming our products? What do we need to change that it is better for him, that the usage is better, the experience is better? But on the other hand, you have to look inside, okay, what is the legacy of the company? For example, with digital and IT, we have a huge technological legacy, but what is even more massive, that's maybe not that tangible and more hidden, is actually the cultural legacy that we have. And then you are at the topic of leadership. Okay, what can you actually do and to change things and to be successful, to align on success? And I think that's the even bigger part. I mean, the whole legacy thing, technological legacy thing is one thing, but the even more interesting part to care about is the culture and the things you have to adjust to perform better with the people you have in your company. And that's tricky.
Yeah, this brings me to the question of the role of the CIO, Uli. From the conversations we have with our customers, one of my view would be that the role of the CIO has changed a lot during the last years. So coming from just being the one that provides the infrastructure for the company, becoming a real enabler for transformation and change. So how's your view on that? Is that a correct assessment?
That's a very good assessment. We are talking about the 4 phases of a CIO, right? And every CIO has grown up on operational excellence, right? So that everything is running stable, that every integration runs smoothly. I would say that's the foundation. That every CIO should be able to do that. But the more interesting parts are coming with innovation. So how you inject new technology and the innovation like ChatGPT to help the company to perform better. And now we are entering another phase, because besides innovation, it's also very important to drive growth. So that means identifying new growth areas, which are making sure that the company, because the biggest differentiation, which is pretty sure, right, that all companies will differentiate on their digital front ends. So the interaction with our customers will happening on the app, on the website, but also in retail stores, which are also a digital front end. Right, and so the growth is the third phase, and number 4 is more how you drive this kind of change inside the company. So that means not just in IT, because if you talk about value streams, you are talking from the customer coming to the whole value generation. And, IT and business will play a significant role. And there will be no real borders between. And there's a 5th phase coming, because The fifth phase of a CIO will be driving diversity and bringing multicultural perspectives into every solution finding, because it will be so immense. If you, for example, generate a new product for a customer, you need to have the perspective of every customer in your product development. And that means different cultures, different ages, different, let's say, religious. So this kind of diversity will generate a lot of new stuff.
It's fascinating how technology is transforming business. Speaking of which, your podcast, Digital Pacemaker, could you tell us more about the podcast theme and the insights you share with the audience, Markus?
Yeah, sure. So what we're actually doing is we release every 2 weeks an episode which is about 40 to 45 minutes with one guest. So Uli and myself are the hosts. And we speak about leadership, transformation, technology, innovation, and everything that belongs to digital, which is quite everything actually. So to finding a good topic for our podcast, that's always a hard thing. But there's one thing that we focus on. We always develop our episodes based on the guests we have. So what we have is really a stage, which is called Digital Pacemaker, where we invite one guest. And of course, people ask, but why are you actually doing that? Is it just a hobby or is it fun? Yeah, well, it is a hobby actually. When we started that, we said, let's try it out. Uli said, well, let's do the first 3 episodes, and if it is not good, we start new. And the objectives we actually had were 3. So we said in the beginning, let's focus on 3 things. So the first thing is actually exploring new topics. So really speaking about things that we really want to explore, which results a bit in agenda setting. So we really try to bring on topics and to inspire people to talk about things where people maybe are searching for new inspiration or searching for new ideas. Second thing is actually to network. So we always invite guests who we mostly didn't know before, or where we didn't have the situation to talk about the topics that we address in the podcast. And that works actually quite good, because it's always fun to invite someone to a platform like Digital Pacemaker and to spend 45 to 60 minutes on a topic. And it's really a different situation than just doing it with a coffee or something. And as a third thing, that's maybe one of the main points, we said in the beginning, hey, Vodafone is such a premium brand, and you rather see people behind that. And for recruiting purpose, let's show people how we really are, with our positives and our weaknesses, and just be authentic, and let's show them how we address our topics and our challenges. And that's what's behind the Digital Pacemaker podcast.
And you already did 35 episodes, so congratulations.
Thanks.
I can recommend number 33, I think it was.
Yeah.
This was a good one.
Social selling.
And I guess you started on the 1st of March, 2022, right?
That's true.
Was this because of the end of Carnival or the beginning of spring, Uli? Was there just a reason, or just you wanted to start and then?
Every good thing starts in Cologne with Carnival. So therefore, there's I would say, a coincidence of that date. But we said, well, let's start. And we were close to finish the year in the financial year 22. And therefore we said, let's start with that and see where we are going, right? And we started with that MVP, and we are still there. And we adopted a lot, to be very honest. And also, I think we want, what Markus said already, we want to open the digital ecosystem to a wider audience, not talking about deeply tech stuff, but giving a glimpse on that topic, and also invite people to think about broader, because, we want to get rid of that image that there are digital nerds and, the one with the long hair, with the chips and the potatoes and all kind of things, and want to invite people who has no touch to the digital ecosystem so far to get in touch with us.
I mean, there are so many dimensions to producing a podcast. I mean, Markus, you mentioned a few, and I think one dimension is really that you as a podcast host learn a lot from your guests, right? And you wouldn't take the time of talking 1 hour about a topic with somebody if you wouldn't produce a podcast. So this is one. And I think what's even more important is my feeling is that there's a big change also in society, and we need to align forces with people who are able and willing to drive positive change. Not talk too much about the risk, but think about what can technology bring to lives, to society, to the businesses. And I think all these podcasts are very helpful in aligning these forces and driving change on a global level, actually. Markus, AI and machine learning are revolutionizing how business operate and make decisions. Additionally, the rise of 5G and also edge computing is opening up new possibilities. What's your view on this, and what has cybersecurity to do with it?
Also, it's a very broad question, but very interesting area. And Uli addressed it already, especially the topic of AI. And there are so many things going on currently. And the good news is it's already there. So there were decades of research and experimentation and milestones like last year. I think end of October, end of November, ChatGPT was released, and these things get more to the public, and people have their personal experience and also opportunity to experiment with these things. And well, there's maybe one aspect that's quite important to me, and that's maybe the thing: AI is not the science fiction thing where the Terminator comes through the door and will take over the world. So the important thing is behind AI, there are always still people behind that. So it's always a human decision what you do and what you do not. And that's something that is positive, but it's negative at the same way, because if you think about the discussions in the recent 6 months, for example, with Elon Musk, who said, we need to stop that for 6 months to see what's actually going on, that are quite interesting discussions, because, I mean, these people, the hyperscalers and these people who are investing much money into all these research things, they have the control over that. So they can do it or they can leave it. So it's not that there is something happening that is out of control. That's maybe the negative part of the discussion, because we always think, okay, it's something higher that is coming, and it's above human activities or human control. So that's maybe one aspect. And the other aspect is, on the other hand, it's still there, and we all need to learn how to bring it to our habits. So not just on the individual side, also if you look at society, if you look at companies, if you take, for example, us, we are exploring that now. Okay, for example, ChatGPT and all these tools that are comparable to that. What can we do with it? How does it really help us? And first thing, of course, that we always think about, okay, how can we optimize our financials? So it's really about optimization of processes. Where does it help us, for example, to automate things where people are currently doing jobs that might be automated, so that these people can be re-upskilled to do different things that actually might match more to their personal purpose or things. So these are actually the upsides. And if you talk about cybersecurity, that's a really massive topic, I have to say. So I think if you look at the discussions that are public, we are mostly reactive, because I think most of the things that are happening there are happening in the darkness. So it's really, really good to be a bit of a front runner to see what is coming there. And I think the creativity of people who use technology innovation or tools to harm the system or to harm companies or to make personal advantage of it is endless. So we really need to prioritize the topic, really need to monitor, okay, what is going out there. And I think it's always worth to have a look at these activities to see, okay, maybe at first stage there were things that were not okay, where people use technology to do something in terms of cybersecurity that harm, for example, companies. But we really need to think about, okay, on the other hand, this was maybe a very creative idea. How can that help us actually to do things differently? And how can we utilize these things that we observe there? Because there are very smart people, also mostly people behind attacks, who are doing things that might be actually the next massive step for our business model. So it's really worth to look at this thing. I have to say the topic cybersecurity, it's not always internally or in the discussions the topic where people really like to discuss about, because it is it seems to be a bit boring, but I think it's really interesting because it's the forefront of technological development. And I understand that it's very hard sometimes to understand what happens there with encryptions and all these things. But in the end, actually, you really have to break it down your personal activities during the day. I mean, you are all day in touch with cybersecurity topics. So, for example, when we access the building, it's that you have something where you can identify yourself, or if you open your laptop, you need to enter a password. So it's something that that will give you access to the whole work environment that we are using. So it's really worth to think about this topic, and it's for the personal benefit of everyone to care about that.
Just one idea I have in my mind right now is the bottom line of our talk right now, I think, is that the human piece of technology is very important, and it needs to go hand in hand, right? The tech is there, and humans need to be responsible to use it. So one question for Uli, what does that mean for the education of our people, of our staff? Because I think it's very important to have people that are curious about what are the tech trends, how can we make use of them, and this is really different to 20 years ago.
First of all, tech is always there for humans, not vice versa, right? And what Markus said already, there is always a dark side of technology, and people will always use technology also for bad things. And that's, I would say, the human nature, right? We just need to know that and can handle the risk which is behind there. So especially if you look to education, I think we are in the glorious days, because what I mentioned before, metaverse, you can expand the dimension of learning, right? Look what kind of content are available, how easy it is to access content, right? Which was in the past a privilege to people, right? That not everybody can access this kind of information. So that's, I would say, especially in the digital age we are in, that's a big gift, right? You know, people don't realize that, what kind of access they have to information and education. So, and how easy it is to also to connect to someone around the world, right? On the other side of the planet, to get information which was not possible 100 or 50 years ago, right? So
I mean, you're so right. I mean, I have two sons, 7 and 9 years old, and if I compare what kind of information they have right now compared to I had a couple decades back, it's just amazing. That's completely true.
And there are so many digital companions which we are using, right? Navigation systems, let's say this small bots which are helping us to write a purchase list or something like that, right? So you can do a lot of things. And also if you look to ChatGPT, to large language models, right, you can use them to help to prescript already something. And here is the main thing in education, which is so essential, besides the digital technology things, is critical thinking. You know, not everything what you are seeing, what you're hearing, what you are reading is true. And I think that's the most important thing in education going forward, to teach especially young people how they can evaluate if this information is true or not. And I think that's a very, very big question, and also a big task for education going forward. But especially if you see upskilling, retraining, look at the university and small degrees you can achieve just online, right? So it's easy to access. And now here comes the human part. There needs to be an element of intrinsic motivation that you start doing that, because that's so important. And that's why we are also talking always about the purpose, because that's the direct link to your intrinsic motivation. You know, the offering and the possibilities hasn't been that broad as today, right? So what is holding us back? Is it a reason? Is it a compelling thing? Is it your motivation? Is it your purpose? But if you have found your purpose, nothing can stop you, because from education side, you can do everything. Now, going back to your initial question, for me, it's very essential that we start early in the schools already, opening, let's say, normal digital tools, and also how you script and how you develop software already in the 7th or 8th class. That's very important, so that young people see what kind of possibilities do we have with software and what's behind. So understanding the logic which is there and giving also young people a perspective. We had Julia Freudenberg in our podcast. She is running the Hacker School where they educate young children in the schools and giving them a perspective. And I was fascinating from her passion doing that kind of education. And I'm also fascinating about all the inspirer going to the schools just free of charge, right? And educating these young people and giving them a perspective. Because we are living in a, I would say, good social society, right? But most of the young people, they don't have a real clear structure. Most of the parents are not going to work. They don't see the perspective for them. And so it's so essential to start very early in class 7 and 8 to educate them and give them a perspective.
And maybe to add something on that, that's really cool, and I really support that idea. And what's also quite important is, and that's what you're always telling people, you have this claim, weil machen krasser ist.
Yes.
So doing is better than, don't know, speaking about things.
Thinking about it,
and
not doing.
And that's really important to teach that as well, actually, to explore things by doing or by experimentation. And that's something that we don't only observe in education or in younger ages. It's the same actually in larger companies or in every organization. You had this metaverse example, maybe to refer that. I think there are still a lot of companies and a lot of people who are still doing PowerPoints and creating visions and drawing pictures. But in the end, actually, once you have seen that, okay, that's maybe good for inspiration, but it goes to the trash or it's somewhere in your files. It's not something that you can use. It's really about building the use cases and really showing what is actually there, what is tangible, what can you do with the technology. And that's maybe what will differ in the future as well. Yeah, people in terms of success or not successful, or organizations, if you are really able to execute on your strategy, to really do it, to really have the knowledge to know, okay, how do I get there? And I don't mean the big things, the big objectives. I really mean the small things where you say, hey, we have an idea, let's try it out, and if it doesn't really work, we will change it, or we will leave it, or we learn something and we get to the next stage. And that's really important. So, for example, once in my team, when I started in my last team, we had a situation where people were really loved discussions about things. Okay, where will we go with blockchain and all these things. And we had that week after week in the team meetings. And I always said, okay, so what's the case? Let's start with that. Because in 8 weeks, actually, if you start now, in 8 weeks, you will have something in your hands and really know if it is valid or not, what you just said. And I did then this exercise that I planted a seed, actually, and every week I showed how it was growing. And it was grass or something. But really after 8 weeks, when people were still discussing about topics and still complaining, oh, it's not working, we can't really start, we need this or we need that, the grass was growing, and it was actually quite high in the end. And that's a bit of the message. Start doing things and start to explore, because otherwise you will never know what it is in the end.
And I guess you guys are such a great role model. I only know about basically 5 CIOs who are really driving passion and giving so much energy. And this is also, some examples are really those podcasts, right? Because you do those podcasts every 2 weeks, even when you guys are on vacation, right? So I still remember you were on the last one, you were on vacation.
Yeah.
Markus is constantly on vacation when he's doing podcasts. That's just...
Oh, Uli didn't know, so yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
But I guess the time has also changed, right? So it's not about like a CIO telling people to change their password. I think it's a different mindset nowadays, right? It's not a one and done thing where you install a firewall. It's about what you just described about how you teach people the different things you have to enable digital transformation. Can you talk a little bit about this mindset? How do you put this mindset into an organization so that every part of the organization understands what they need to do?
You know, when I was young, I thought...
You're still young, Uli.
Yeah. I thought you need everyone to be a front runner, right? And over time, you learn that's not important, that everybody runs in the front. But if you want to change something, you need movement. And you need movement from everyone. But you need to understand where everyone is. And, we discussed that in our transformation. There are 4 categories. There are sitters, there are walker, there are jogger, and there are runners. Now, to get movement is just to get the sitter into the walker. You don't need to make him or her a runner, but just let her or him go. And the walker, you need to get, and the jogger, you need to get to a runner, or the walker to the jogger, and then the jogger to a runner.
So everybody needs to accelerate.
Yeah, just 1 step, not 2 or 3, just 1, because then you got movement. And there is another learning. You need to find a tipping point. The tipping point is you need to get 20 plus in movement, and then your overall stuff gets moving. Because if you look to a bell curve, right, you have the early adopters, you have the big middle mass, which is, I would say, looking what they are doing. Should they run? Should they stay? Should they go back? Right? And you have the resistors, and you need to understand where they are. But if you achieve 20% plus, then the big middle area of your bell curve gets also in movement.
Then you have momentum, and then you can drive change.
And then you drive change. And here's the important thing. You protect that it's falling back. Because if you don't reach the tipping point, your, let's say, transformation flips back after a while. Because when time gets rough and normal, people tend to flip back to their old behavior.
There's some great pieces of advice here in this episode, and we could talk on forever, I would say. But, Christian, I think we need to start with our quickfire round.
Quickfire round.
Markus, Macintosh or PC?
I was grown up with PC, but now I'm with Macintosh, so things might change in the middle of the life.
Uli, on Macintosh, antivirus on it?
Sure.
Okay.
I know that Apple has great products and also something like that, but I also want to screen, and not just antivirus. I have the whole suite on my Mac.
Mm-hmm. That's what I thought. Markus, vacation is not a valid answer here. Home office or office?
Both. So I think the balance is the right answer.
Uli, one more for you. CDO or CIO?
A CIO. I'm pretty sure the time of CDOs are gone. Sorry, CDOs.
Well, I kind of expected that answer, but okay, thank you, Uli.
I have one more question for you guys. As I was just coming back from vacation, right? So, and we had like a lot of international guys hanging around, and especially the US guys. They are always telling me, look, you as a German citizen, right, you got like those policies in place where all the emails get deleted, right? Because more and more people are just constantly on, always connected, getting so much emails. What are your thoughts about this one company as really having this policy in place where some emails do get deleted while on vacation? Is this something where you think this is great, or?
That's a good question. It comes all with self-discipline. I think deleting something in vacation can help protect people, for sure. But on the other side, it takes also responsibility and discipline away from people. And I'm not a big fan of that somebody decides for me what's good for me, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm a big fan of self-discipline. That's number one. I'm not always great on that. Also very sure on that. But I think people should decide their own.
Uli and Markus, it was a pleasure having you both on the show. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks a lot. It was really cool. And yeah, it was good to sit together physically, actually. That's really a difference compared to the virtual meeting.
Absolutely. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in to another episode of Connecting for Future. Stay tuned for more episodes where we continue to explore the ever-changing world of technology and innovation. Until next time, take care. Your podcast hosts, Andre and Christian.